All right, hello everyone. Welcome to this week's weekly watch list. It is Monday, May 26th. The market's closed for Memorial Day. Obviously, the market's going to open tomorrow, Tuesday morning. So, getting this info out to you tonight instead of Sunday, which I normally do. But let's jump into it. First, in alphabetical order, we have AZO AutoZone. Just your basic cup and handle here. The handle is pretty tight. If you want to measure that, it's only about 2.33%. So this is super tight here. BSX, big base going back to February. The handle's kind of sloppy here, but even if you measure from peak to trough down to here, it's only about 5%. So while it does look a little sloppy, it is tight enough. So if it just goes, you can use this stop here, and you're good to go. CPS, this was the high tight flag I had last week, 134%, and then going through the correction. So now we reached the part where Friday's low was about 20%. So you can just buy this anywhere at the open tomorrow and use Friday's low as your stop. I mean, that's only going to be, what, 2%? Because if it goes lower than Friday's low, then the high tight flag is invalidated, right? Because you're only supposed to allow it 20% correction. So that's a good risk reward, 2%, and if you're right or wrong pretty much right away. And then to get back to the highs, you're at a 23% gain. So the risk reward is there. CVNA, this is a cup and handle where the handle is kind of high. Some call it a high handle where it's just sitting here on top like that. But this handle is pretty tight. It's about 7.5%. So that one is valid here. CVNA, I believe this is near all-time highs as well. eBay, another base going back to mid-February. This handle here is about under 3%, 2.8%. So that one's valid. Might need to build out a little bit more, but this one is buyable over this high here, 72.94. Robinhood, another cup and handle, double bottom base. A lot of these bases look like this. Again, this handle is not the cleanest looking. If you want to measure it from Friday's low, it's about 6-7%. Again, I want to see this get tighter, get more confluence. The volume drying up is nice here, but just need to see it be a little bit more orderly. But if it does just go, if it just rips tomorrow, you can use Friday's low as your stop to be about 7%, which is a little bit on the wide side, but it's acceptable. HSAI, this one I just drew in here a couple more days inside because this handle here of only 2 days, it's a little bit short. So I want to see it go sideways for a couple days and then go. This one, the AI theme, and pretty much any ticker with the letters AI in it has potential to blast off here. And I mean, this corrected 57%, which is a bit much, but again, it's an AI name. It's also cheaper too, $22 stock. HURN, HURN, another base going back to late February, and now this handle here, if that's what you want to call it, about 6.5%. Again, kind of sloppy here, not a lot of conformity, much like the rest of them, but that one is buyable here. IDCC, another one base going back to February. I was looking for this as like a pullback buy because it is nice and orderly. And if you measure here, I mean, even to Friday's low, the shakeout low is only 9%. Now, in a regular pullback, anywhere from 10 to 12% is completely normal. So I was looking at this as a pullback buy, and then on Friday, if this didn't gap down and go lower, I was looking at this to buy over this level here, which I think is still valid because we did recover. So you can look at this as a shakeout within the pullback. Maybe if it retightens here for a couple days and then goes, that'll almost look like a little mini cheat area here. A fractal of a cheat. LLYVA, another big cup double bottom handle here is about just under 5%. Again, kind of a pullback here within the handle. So I think you could actually buy it over Thursday's high 76.07, and then just use Friday's low as your stop. It's about 1.86%. Doesn't get tighter than that. So that's really good. LOPE. This is another one near all-time highs. Another high handle where it's just sitting on top of this base. And this one, again, not really conformed well, but it is super tight, under 4% here. So that one looks good. MLYS. Decent base here. I don't like that it's just kind of riding along this 50-day, but it's got a clear pivot here. It's pretty somewhat tight, about 6% here. So that one can go. MPAA. This is another one base going back to early February. Got a little wonky here, but we were looking at this pivot last week. I didn't put it on the list. Still somewhat wide, but it's a $10 stock. So like I've said in previous videos, it's hard to get those super tight pivots on low price stocks. So this is valid enough. I mean, even if you take it over Thursday's high to Friday's low, it's a little wide, about 10%. So maybe just use a mathematical stop. MRP, this is an IPO base. So this day here, that was the IPO day. So we're sitting on top of it. We're at, anybody who bought in here, they're at a profit, and it's just building out this handle now. So you're looking at a 4.5% stop here, which is pretty tight. OSIS, this is another high handle, just kind of sitting on top of this base here. And you're looking at, if you don't count Friday's shakeout, you're looking at about 5%. If you use Friday's low as your stop, you're looking at about 6.8%. So this is pretty tight here. I do like this, shakeout below the 200 and came all the way back here. And again, your double bottom cup and handle base. PLTR, looking at this pullback here, looking really nice. So obviously over either Friday or Thursday's high, that is buyable there. Volume coming down in a pullback, that's exactly what you want to see. RPID, this one pretty tight here, 7.6% for a $3 stock. That's pretty tight. Clear pivot. There's no guessing here about when it's going to break out. Decent sized base going back to February. So this one looks good. I believe this is a biotech. SMA, this is another IPO stock. Looking at about 6.5, 7.2, depending on if you're using the May 13th or the May 22nd low. But yeah, it's just your typical IPO base. Doesn't really have much of a pivot here, but we're trying to get creative here. SNT, this is another $3 stock, pretty low price here, but decent base, and we're looking at this as a pullback buy here. So I want one more day where this has a good close. So see how we close on the near the lows here. I want to see it close up here, and then the next day buy over that high. Spotify, could have actually purchased this over Thursday's high, even though it did close on the low, but we had an outside day and it looked pretty strong, so it could have entered here, but overall just looking for this to break out over this level here, so you can either add to it or start your position into these new highs. SSRM, decent size base here. I mean, this is a low price stock. It's $11. So I want to see it build out a little bit more, because going, down to this pivot low, that's going to be too wide. That's about 12%. So if we can just go inside for a couple days, and then you're looking at like a 4% pivot, even down to Thursday's low, it's about 5.3%. So if we get a little bit tighter and then break out from there, that'll look good. TLN, this is an energy stock, so not the best, but again, you got your double bottom cup and handle base, and your handle is about 6.3%. Again, needs a little bit more conformity, but like the rest of them. This is, you know, kind of the theme here. TOST. This one, it didn't. I mean, if you bought it here as a low cheat, but I think this is on earnings. This gap here. Let me just double check. Yeah, so that was on earnings. So you're not going to be able to hold into that earnings report. So this wasn't really a way to get on board. So it just kind of shot up the right side. Now it's pulling back to the top of the base. So now we're just going to look for a pullback buy entry. The pullback is only about 8.6%. The volume came in, so this looks good. So I'd say over Thursday or Friday's high 43.12, some maybe 43.15, and you can just buy right there with Friday's low as your stop. VLGEA. This is clear pivot here. Might be a little bit wide here. No, you're only about 5%, 5.5%. Looks wide, but it's not. That's why you always got to measure, because when things look tight, they could be wide, and when things look wide, they could be tight. So yeah, so decent tightness there. Thinner stock, only about 46,000 shares traded per day, but if you got a small account, you can swing that one. And then last but not least, VRNA. This one is kind of a fractal, like a cup and handle within a cup and handle. But we're looking at this as your entry here, and using Friday's low, you're at about 6.2%. If you go a little bit tighter, get about 4.5%. So maybe it retightens, and maybe that's just a shakeout, and then it goes from there. But decent amount of names on the list here, and we'll see how this week goes. Hope this helps.